Hi, welcome to episode 7 of my video series entitled Favorite Song That I Taught This Week. I'm Alan Barlow with Homewood School of Music in Birmingham, Alabama. And the favorite song I've taught this week comes from two of my students that are currently learning at Dr. D. Denson and my young bass student, Julie Bawden. And the song of the week is The Weight by the band. So here we go. There are basically 3 parts to this song. There is an intro, a 3-bar intro. There is a 2-bar phrase in the verse that it's repeated 4 times. And then there's a chorus with a really interesting timing shift in the middle of the chorus. So let's get right to it. So here is the intro. I'll play it, then I'll break it down. So as recorded on the album, if you watch Robbie live, he doesn't play this exactly the same way every time. It's loosely the same thing, but this is as best as I can represent note for note what we hear on the record. So here it goes. That's it. That's the 3 bars. Okay, so what we have is an A chord. For those of you that aren't familiar with inversions, basically what this is what we call a first inversion, where we're playing a C sharp in the bass, an E, and then an A on the top, like so. If you're more of a guitar shape kind of person, a lot of bluegrassers will talk about C position or G position. This is a C position A chord. That means the root is actually, positionally, would be here. A lot of bar chord weekend warriors will look at the shape and associate it with this chord. Be careful. That is an F sharp minor. So although my fingers might look as if they're holding that chord, it is not that chord at all. There's no F sharp to be found here until we play a lick in a minute. So basically what Robbie Robertson is doing is he's barring the D, G, and B strings with his first finger at the 9th fret. He's got his middle finger on the A note, which is the 10th fret of the B. And it's a series of hammer-ons that are all easily timed beginning on beat 1. It's a hammer-on 1, a hammer-on on 2, a hammer-on on 3. And there's an 8th note up pick that follows each. So to explain that better detail here, beat 1 goes like this. So what he's doing is he's got his ring finger off, and he's strumming the D and G strings down, hammers the ring finger on the 11th fret of the D string, and then follows with an upstroke on the G string, like so. Beat 2, same concept. He just moves his ring finger over to the G string, but what's kind of funny is you don't really hear him do this a lot live, but on the record he actually hits the D string again, so it kind of creates this interesting sort of 50 sound. But what's happening is he's playing the D and G strings down, hammering the G string 11th fret, but his upstroke is the B. So I'll break those 2 down again. So 1 and, 2 and, like that. 1 and 2. So to your right hand, you're just playing 8th notes. Cool. Now, beat 3, same hammer on, but the upstroke is the G string again. So that same hammer on, what I mean is he's going to hammer on the same string again. Then take the finger off for the upstroke of the G string. Then on beat 4, he goes back to the D string to hammer on, and he goes down, keeps the finger there, and strums up. So it's truly a strum on the upstroke that time, like that. It's kind of debatable to me whether that's an upstroke or another downstroke. It could be. Either way, it's the same sound. It's the same 2 strings. So all of measure 1. Like that. Then he changes position to the 7th fret, D and G strings only, and he's going to go 1 and 2. So both of those are grace note hammer-ons. 1 and 2. So I'm hammering quickly. Then again, this finger's doing nothing, so it looks like it's playing something, but it's just hanging out. Like that. 2 hammer-ons. Then 2 is just the same 2 strings, just barred. 1 and 2. Then you hear Levon hit the bass drum on 3. And then we move up a string to the A string, and we're going to do Basically, the easy version of this would be just to play the A and D strings, maybe the G. 4, 2 downstrokes, hammer on the 9th fret of the A string on the second one. Take the finger off. Actually, make that an upstroke. Then land on the 9th fret of the E string. That's the end of measure 2. But here's the thing. On the album, there's very clearly a high A note. This one. Could be there. Could be there. But the only one in reach with the lick is the B string 10th fret. So it sounds as if he's going a little sloppy. So we hear that A clearly on the record. But when you watch him live, I've not seen anything to indicate he's playing that note live. Measure 4 or measure 3, the final measure of the intro is A, the chord. And then that rhythm is going to come into play in the verse too. So you're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so you're going down, 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 up, down, up. And when you start playing those 16th notes, you're going to turn that up, down to an A sus4, just raising that note on the B string, and then right back on the upstroke. 4 E and or like this. Either technique applies. And that's our intro. All right, so into the verse. The verse is really the simplest part of the song. It's 2 measures, 2 beats per chord, 3 chords, and the form is A, C sharp minor, D, and A. And when we come back to that A, we're going to play that same little ornament we just talked about. So we're playing A, C sharp minor, D, and A. And C sharp minor, just to knock it out, is the 4th fret of the A string, bar it, and then play D string 6, G string 6, B string 5. No way around it. You just have to play a bar chord. So we're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 3 and 4 and 4 times. That's the verse. Pretty easy. Okay, so the chorus is pretty simple too, but here's the thing, and my student Julie and I were talking about this. At this point in the song, the acoustic guitar really fades into the backdrop of the mix, and the piano is really big. The vocals are really big. The bass is really doing some, kind of neat stuff. The bass is actually playing thirds for its chord. And so what I mean by that is the bass is playing the root of the chord and the third of the chord simultaneously. So for years, I always heard this as going like A and then a G sharp in the bass, even though I know the chord is an E, because G sharp is the third of E, and then D. So for years, I would play it like, take a load off, like so. And I don't really think that that's what the guitar is doing. I think it's probably just playing. It's just that the bass is so loud in the mix. It's really that register for the bass. It'd be that note. So we're hearing that G sharp under the E chord. Take a look. Right. So we're doing that 3 measures, and the count is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the measure of confusion. Right here, we play a 7/4 bar, and on beat 1, we stay on D, and we go 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're into this walk down. So what I always tell students is to just pay attention to the lyrics. They're actually on the beats. So when there's no drummer, people tend to get a little nervous. So basically, just notice that the words are going basically like this. 1 and put the load right on me, and me is the walk down. So it's silly to say, but and put right. 6 words. You're playing the D chord on one. One and put the load right on me. Played the wrong rhythm. It's actually 1, 2, 3. Cool. So that walk down, what's that about? All right. So the walk down, we hear it walking down the major scale. I hear the bass walking. So that's A, G sharp, F sharp, and E. And once again, that G sharp is really an E chord with the G sharp in the bass. So, you know, nice way to represent what we hear on the record. Again, we don't really hear the guitar very prominently in the mix, but is to play those triads like so. So we hear it descending like it sounds to our ear when we hear that great part. So here are those triads. You could play this a number of ways. This is just my interpretation of trying to take what we hear on the record and put it on a guitar to represent well. So we have A, 7th fret of D, 6th fret of G, 5th fret of B. And what I'm doing is I'm playing my thumb on the A string, and I'm muting my A string in between these two because that'll help us clean up the other chords that are to follow. You could play A open with this because it's an A chord. But I mute it out because I have the same note right here. Then we're going to play E over G sharp simply by doing this. We're going to take our 3 fingers back a fret, and then we're just simply going to flip these 2 fingers. And that is the exact shape that we started the song with. Excuse me. That we started the song with the A chord in C position up here I mentioned earlier. So we're playing. So if you're not used to that sort of switch, there you go. It's vital that you keep your ring finger on the D string. Kind of have to lift my thumb a little bit just to move over the fret, but keep everything close. Now the next chord is F sharp minor, which you could just play your standard F sharp minor bar chord, but to me that's more arduous physically to do that because you're coming from gripping the guitar like so, and then all of a sudden switching your arm, your wrist, everything into a different position. So what I do there is A, E over G sharp like I explained. Now this is really pretty simple. Take your shape that you currently have down a whole step, get rid of your middle finger and lay your first finger flat, and that covers the root position notes of an F sharp minor chord. Again, thumbing the lower F sharp at the 2nd fret of the E string. Then playing E, and then D. 1, 2, and just to be clear, because I don't think I've mentioned it, once we come off of the 7/4 measure and we are into this walk down, we are in 4/4. So basically the whole chorus goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and back to the verse. And that's the way. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more videos and more songs that I've taught or will teach in the future, click the subscribe button. Thanks again.